we'll give this a shot. All right, am I on time? I don't even know what time it is. Good evening. Hello Facebook, hello YouTube. Let's hope that I have some luck with all of my streaming tonight. But I am here. Let's see. Oh, I really need to find my glasses. I'm here to show you my our newest kit for the Valentine's season. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it or not tonight because I was still waiting on a shipment of some of the supplies for this, but they came. So I am ready to go. So what this is, oh, I forgot something, buddy.
What?
Could you do me a big favor? Or are you right in the middle of that?
Yeah, kind of.
Could you, when you're done with this game,
Yeah.
could you go up and get that truck thing I made that's hanging on the closet door? Remember where I hung it in the entry?
I guess.
It's hanging on the doorknob. Do you remember?
Not really.
I think it's hanging on the doorknob of the coat closet.
Okay.
Thank you. So I have a finished one that I can show you. But I feel bad because we were down here. I was filling orders and doing things, and my other son was down here, and my youngest has been asking to come down and play one of his sport games. So he's down here playing baseball and on the Wii, and he hasn't had much time. So now I feel bad for interrupting him. So he'll go get that for me because I forgot to bring down the sample. So I gave you a little teaser post earlier. So what this is, it's going to be a truck door hanger, and it's not quite the same truck as the previous ones we've done. This is a little bit smaller and just a slightly different shape. And but it does have the grooves, the paint as you go lines there that help. So let me tell you what I did. And I drilled holes in this so that we could make this a door hanger. Or it can hang on whatever you want. So if it's not what you want on your door, you could hang it anywhere, really, for Valentine's Day. So what I've done so far, just in the effort to save time, a little bit of time, is I painted the entire thing one color. So this is pretty much what it looks like to begin with, just the raw wood. And then I painted the whole thing, even this white part, even the black tires. I painted the whole thing. I chose this pink color. It's called Magenta. I chose that just because we're going to offer this like we've been offering our new kits, which is as a DIY version, or if you're not the DIY kind of person, we'll offer it as a make it for me option. But the make it for me kit version, or the make it for me version of our kits, are only available in the colors that I show when I'm demonstrating them or in my samples. So what I was trying to do was pick a color, hey Joanna, that was kind of in between red and pink, not like a light pink, not like red, so that it could work with both. So that's why I chose this. This is Folk Art Magenta. It's pretty, I'm running out. It's on its last legs here, but that is the color here, Folk Art Magenta. So I painted the entire thing that color. Then when that was dry, I went back over the rear view window with white, and I went over the tires with black. But just to make it easy, I painted the whole thing pink because it's kind of hard it takes more time. Let's just say it takes more time to paint inside the lines than it does to just paint the whole thing. So I paint the whole thing and I paint the edges. So whatever color is going to be there, so I painted the edges of the tires black, but everything else is pink. So I did a whole thing of pink, then I went over with white, and I went over with black. So now that's all dry, and I'm ready, excuse me, to move on to the next step. So I figured I would show you what I did here with the white. And I'm just using two, these happen to be Target brand, they're not Target brand, they're called Handmade Modern, but they're the paints that you can find at Target. So I'm going to do the same thing I did in my sample. This paint is pretty, it's getting on its last leg. It's pretty old. But I just filled in these little rear view mirrors with white. And you don't have to be perfect going between the, or in the lines. I'll show you why. Similar to some of the other truck ones that we've done. But this paint is pretty old. It's getting pretty goopy. I'm just trying to use it up. So we don't provide the paints because then you can choose what you want. But if you want the make it for me option, then it will be done in the same colors as I'm doing here. So I will have pinks, reds, and whites in this sample. So again, I'm not being perfect. I'm sure you can't really tell, but they're not perfectly colored in lines. And I also I wasn't super careful about how I painted this. It's not smooth, it's just painted. I just kind of went like this because a rear view mirror has a lot of reflection, and I thought it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do the same thing with these backlights. So I started out painting them white. Don't forget, bud.
I know. Same color we get.
Okay. Because I'll forget if you forget. So I did the same thing, and you could make them gray if you'd rather, but I started with white. Depends on how ambitious you're feeling, I guess. And happy Friday night, by the way. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very anxious to go kick my feet up and relax.
Could be over right here, Mom.
Very, very anxious to end this week. Okay, so I have those filled in with white. I don't have any water over here, so I'm just going to wipe this up. Wipe this off with the wipe. Then, what I did, while it was still a little bit wet, and this is pretty dry up here, so it is what it is. So just, you can decide what you want to do. But I'm going to try to keep it sort of on the wet side. But while the paint is wet, I just put a little bit of, dipped it a little bit in this charcoal color and started adding just like some shading. In no particular fashion, just to give it some dimension, I guess. And you could make, like I said, you could make it all silver. But I just feel like if it's all solid, it doesn't have quite as much dimension or not texture, but character maybe. So that's why I'm just adding some little streaks. I'm just streaking it up. Kind of in a curved fashion, but heavier in some places than others. So you could have some like straight black streaks if you wanted in some spots. Really doesn't matter. Whatever you end up liking. And then you can always go back to that later. And then for the tires, I did the same thing. I'm just wiping this off. Being that my jar is pretty empty and pretty old, I'm not really worried about going from one jar to the other. But I'm just going to kind of do some squiggly lines down the tires. Some has more paint on it than others. Like some streaks have more paint than others. Daniel's going to get me the sample that I did. Okay, so if you get too much black and you don't like it that much, then you can always go back. But let's say I even use from the lid just a little bit. So you can just kind of start pulling it down. Thank you.
Do you want them to see it? Or?
Yeah, I'll show them. Thank you. So this is the one that I did earlier that I gave you a little bit of a peek of. So there's some ribbon up here and then a whole bunch of hearts, and then we've got this little banner, I guess, of red hearts there. And I know it's backwards for you, but I made the license plate say Love 14, just so it had some numbers and some letters in it. So that is my sample. So it won't be exactly the same. Wish I I had somewhere to hang it behind me. But I'm kind of going for something similar. So, like I said, you can streak this a little bit, but you're not going to see a whole lot of this because it depends on how much you have the hearts come up. So you're really not going to see between the ribbon and all of these hearts, you're not going to see a whole ton of it. I can't read your name, but I can see some names. So I had to push my devices back further because I can never, one of them has to be turned this way and one of them has to be portrait, and then I get cut off in one of them. So I had to push them back, but now I can't reach and I can't see. So that's me, the novice. One of these days I will kind of learn my way around the videotaping process. For now, I just kind of try to avoid learning all that stuff because I just want to paint and I just want to create. I'll get there eventually. 2020 will be my year. I'll get there. So anyway, you kind of decide how you like it. And there's lots of ideas even on Pinterest. If you look up truck door hangers on Pinterest, you can see like what some of them will do. But I'm not going to worry too much about that. And if you want, keep a thing of water, and then you can keep your brush wet, and then it'll blend a little bit better. So, or you could just kind of keep wetting it with wipes. So that's about it for that. Now, the next thing, that way that can dry a little bit. And the next thing I would suggest the next thing you do is the stencil. So this is your little banner stencil. And we just decided, I just thought this was super cute. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. I'll come back to that. So I'm just peeling off the back like I do all my other stencils, just very slowly. You want to keep the hearts on there, so if they start coming up, press the paper back down. You want all of the stencil to stay. And then I lined mine up. I know it's hard for you to see this here. I can barely see it in front of me because I have a purple stencil on a dark background, so it's all kind of blending in. But I'm lining up the ends, the ends of the banner string, I guess, that arc. I'm trying to line that up with the top line of the with this line here that goes across. So there's a string that holds this banner, and I'm trying to just line that up with the line that's etched in the wood. And then I'm just trying to center it the best I can. I'm not measuring anything. I'm just putting it in there the best I can. Press that on real good. Peel off your transfer paper. Throw that away. And then back to the white. Need a little sponge. And I'm not even dumping this out onto a plate, but that's what you would do, just a little bit onto a plate, and then you're gonna dab in and dab off. But I have such little left in here that I'm just gonna try to squeak out what I can because it's so thick. Are you okay? What happened?
I went like this.
Ooh. Well, what'd you do that for?
Pitching. This probably sounds a little.
So I'll go over all this, and then what'll happen is because the hearts are kind of inside there, it'll mean that my hearts will stay red because they're covering up the background. And then when I peel this stencil off, all I'll have left is some white. And what you could do, I didn't do this, but I thought about it. Once I peel this off, I'll show you. There's just enough room if you were to take a Sharpie, a nice sharp Sharpie, you could maybe put in like XOXO. See, I'll show you what I mean here. So we peel that off, and then all the hearts are still there. So I'm just taking something sharp and gently trying to get underneath of that without scraping the paint. Very gently. Just trying to peel those back up. So tweezers, something just with a sharp edge. Don't go hog wild trying to get at it because then sometimes it slips and it scrapes and then you have scrapes on your paint. Just gently try to get that up. Oh, I love this little banner. I think it's a cute little banner. So anyway, now you have the little hearts there, so it looks like red hearts. What you could do if you had a really sharp, thin, like fine Sharpie, I don't know if you can get a really thin white Sharpie or a really thin paint pen. I don't know. Those can kind of go either way, being bleeding, but you could make like teeny tiny little X's and O's in there if you wanted to. I decided not to do that just because I was worried about the the thickness of it and the bleeding and all of that. Let me make sure I have you guys there. Okay. So now I'm going to start putting the hearts on. And I have a whole bunch of different sizes. I'm just going to dump out a bunch here. I have these are like foamy and they are perforated around the edges. I don't know if you can see that. If I put it up next to that, they're perforated around the edges, and there's white, there's pink, and there's red. So what I was trying to do was find a background color that if anyone chooses the make it for me option, all of these will show up in some way. So even the red and the pink, they both do show up on the background. So a whole lot of hearts in there. So just like last week, I have lots of hot glue. Hopefully I have enough hot glue. I could take that one there. And I'm just going to mix a bunch of the little thin ones. The little ones actually have stickers on the back, so I could peel them off and stick them on. But, or you could do both. I'll probably do both if I remember. But I kind of tried to lay it out. So what you want to think, oh, I know, I forgot to do something first. Before I do this, I'm going to take a Sharpie. Doesn't really matter, any Sharpie. You take a thick one or a thin one. And I will just follow. This is the nice thing about this already having these lines in it. You just follow the lines. And if you go slow, it makes it real easy. I even follow the lines that already have black on them. And it won't go like down in the groove real good, but it will at least highlight those grooves. And if it bothers you that you can still see pink inside the groove, you could always take a paintbrush and just kind of try to press black in there. That doesn't bother me because I can see that it's outlined it fairly well just that way. So that highlights all of that. So what we're working on is putting hearts everywhere from this line above the banner up and as far as you want. It depends on how much you want this filled with hearts. Now I actually am going to go around the outside and highlight by hand. I'm just following the curve. So I'm just putting a black outline around those two. Just following the outline. So nothing perfect. And I'll go around here and around here. And that's pretty much it as far as that goes. So just a regular Sharpie, or you could use whatever color you wanted, but that just outlines the whole thing. So I want to do all of that before I go covering anything up. And since I'm going to be putting a ribbon up here, I don't want to have to work around that to do all the Sharpieing. So what I decided to do, and this is up to you, I actually added this filler. So for our boxed up subscription, so this is kind of an idea of what we do with our boxed up subscription, with our DIY project every month. We give them supplies, I show them how to make it, but a lot of times they have different colors and different stencils and different options. But we used to use this filler in our boxes, and this filler is great for a lot of things. It's good for Easter stuff, it's good for fall decorations, like putting stuff in your in vases and stuff, but we've noticed that it also works good for craft projects. So that is what I will be adding here at the end, kind of just to make that edge hide the bottom of the hearts there. So what I did though first was I kind of got a whole bunch and I laid them out. So, but because these ones that are supposed to be sticking out of the truck, it's hard to tuck, you can't really tuck them in behind. What I'm going to do is for some of them, I'm going to just cut off a little section to make it flat on the bottom. And that way I can line it up with the line there. And that way it sort of looks like it's more even with that. You can do that with any of these, but I'll just kind of start laying hearts out as quickly as I can here to fill in spots. And then I have to do a lot of hot gluing. So if you have them up there, that's fine. And then if you have them down here, they're all going to be overlapping. I like to lay them out as much as I can first before I start gluing them, just to sort of get an idea of how many I'm going to need and where I'm going to want them. So I want a variety of the colors and a variety of the different shapes. So these little sticker ones, it's really hard to see without taking a daytime photo. It's really hard to see here, but like these have little polka dots, and then these other ones have a checkered pattern on them. I know you cannot see that. If you see that, that's amazing. But I'll sort of just start laying them out. Now these little foam ones, they're a little bit different thickness. So they kind of work if you just turn them on their sides a little bit, then you don't have the point sticking down over the edge. But if I stick it on its side, it kind of lines up with the with that truck line there. So I'll just put a few more in here just to kind of get started. And I had mine in the other one, I had them going up kind of far. And that's totally up to you. I might have to get some more little foamy ones out. So there's white ones. I kept them down where you could see them, or layered them on top. And then the red ones I put up higher where you could see them on the white. And then if you wanted the hearts to kind of, I wish I could put this closer to you. If you wanted the hearts to travel up the window a little bit, you could do that too. You can make them go as high as your heart desires. I've got glue from the other ones sticking everywhere. So maybe I do something like that. You could have them like look like they're floating around. I'm not going to go much higher because I'm going to have a ribbon there and I don't want to hide much of it. But what I need to do then is go back in here and fill in a lot. So I'll start with these, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue under each one. I don't want a ton because I don't want it squishing out everywhere. It's clear, so it's not that big of a deal, but you don't need as much as you might think, and you don't want to burn yourself. So I just tap them on there, get them in place, and then once I have some started, I'll go back and add and fill in. And then I'll use that filler to sort of hide so that it doesn't, I mean, you can tell you don't need to do it, but it just softens that line a little bit. Gone through a lot of hot glue today. Actually, a lot of hot glue this week. But this will get me started. And then if I find any that seem a little loose, I can always go back and add some more behind it. I'll try to get these on as quickly as I can. But I actually pick some up. So I get like a dollop on the back so that it's stuck there. But then I try to leave a little bit on most of them so that I can still lift the edge up and then tuck another one behind it if I have to, so that if there's like a gap or a space, so I can at least get the main part of it tapped on there, and then I can always go back and add more glue. But there's a lot of overlapping basically because you can't get every little spot. So when you have those extra spots, you can start working your way down and filling in with the little ones. There's some cute little ones in here. And I just randomly pick what goes where. So they won't all look exactly the same, but they'll all have the same colors. Oh, and I said I was going to peel the backs off, but I never did. So I'm not even going to worry about it at this point. I didn't do it on the other one either, so that one ended up okay. So let's get some red over here. February 14th. Then we'll get these up here, and that way I know what I have to work around up there. Just a little dollop for the little ones. And I don't want to press too hard so I don't have glue squishing out everywhere. This would be cute. Like, I like to hang things like this on my, over my mantle in front of the old window that I keep there all the time. I love hanging things off of that, and I like it because I can change it up all the time, and it kind of, any size works pretty much. That might be where I put mine. Or there's a spot on my porch that I've been hanging things, although lately we've had such terrible wind that I don't trust anything out there. We had a Christmas tree out there, and I probably had to pick it up from flopping over 3 or 4 times from the wind. We ended up tying it through the window on our porch so that it would stay up and not be sucked down all the time. But just this week alone, we've had so much wind. So it might stay inside for me, or it might go on my door. I have to go back and see what I have. I think I might have a Valentine wreath already. It's pretty sad when you don't even remember because you've done so many darn wreaths. I'll trim this one a little bit. So if one is stuck on there pretty good and you can't get behind it, I cut a little bit off, and that way I can fit it in a little better. And I'm not even going to care that I have 3 red ones right next to each other. Just going with it. Let's find some patterns. Here's red. So basically that's all I'm doing. Just a lot of overlapping too. So it's not flat. And I'm trying to do them as quickly as I can. And then when it's all said and dry, I'll pull all these stringies off and get rid of them. Put another red one here. I'm sticking that one in. I'm sure it's hard for you to see so far, but that's what I've got so far. So I'm just tucking them in wherever I can. Maybe I should have had the camera over top of me instead of in front of me. But we're getting there. Get some little ones for some layers. And if some of them don't stick right away, you might have to go put more. Just don't want to burn yourself. Okay, so let's see what I've got here to fill in the rest. Take some of these pink, tuck them in there. Take another pink over here, tuck that one in, and we're almost there. Maybe just one there. So what I'm doing that you can't necessarily see is if you have little gaps where the overlaps aren't, you still see down to the wood, that's where I'm just using some of the little tiny ones and going right over top and layering them there. But you can go up as high as you want. Maybe I'll add one more right here, since I know the bow will be mostly on the left-hand side. Oh, I must have missed gluing one. I don't know where that was, but must not have been important. So all these little strings, oh, there's another one. So a couple of them I didn't put glue on.
Mom,
What?
I'm trying to beat Gregory's record, which is 22 points. I got 22.
Oh no, you
I
just
missed
barely.
the second to last shot, and the last shot was a 2-point.
Oh, so close.
No, I've been trying to do it for so
Oh my
long.
goodness, the little glue strings. Okay, so all of those will come off eventually, but there's an idea of what I've got so far. And when I take the final picture and show that in the daytime, it'll be a lot easier to see. So you have the banner, we've got the tires, we've got all the shading, all that shading's done, we've got the outline. So now what I've got left to do is the ribbon and the wire. And this little stuff, if you choose to do it. So you could leave it alone and not put anything here across this line, or you can add that. It's totally up to you. Okay, so what I would do next is the bow. So let me show you the order I would do this in. So what I have here for this kit is, it's actually, it looks like 3 ribbons, but it's 2. So this is a burlap ribbon that has a pink ribbon actually on top of it. And then this one has some reds in it and some neutrals also. It's got some hearts. So I have 2 sets of those. What I do is line them up best I can. They're not exactly the same length, but that's okay for now. I line them up and I kind of accordion style pinch them together in the center like that. And then I do the same thing with this one. Pinch it together in the middle. And I overlap them. You could actually overlap them before you pinch them together. That might even be easier. But then while I have them pinched together like that, I will take this zip tie. I will wrap it around as best I can with one hand, keeping those other pinched. Now, I'm not going to pull this totally tight. I'll pull it tight enough that it'll hold it, but not tight enough that I can't get this piece of wire through. This is a thicker wire than some of the others that I use, and I'll pull this little tie in the back. I'm going to cut that off in a minute, but before I pull it tight, I want to thread this piece of wire through that loop on the back so that it has something to catch on. And I'll just pull it even. I'm not going to bend it or like press it in half yet, but now I can pull this as tight as I can. You'll hear it clicking. Then I'll cut that off all the way so that all I have left is this little sharp thing on the back. So you want that towards the back so that you don't scrape yourself on it. Be careful because they are sharp when you cut them. Now you've got the wire. So what I'll do now is I should be able to move this wire in and out of that. But it's a lot easier to do it, to tighten after you put that wire in. So what I'll do on this side, so I need this wire to come up from the back. So I'm going to put my ribbon on this side. You could put it on this side if you wanted. But I need the wire itself to come up from the back. So I'll take this side and bring it, thread it up through this, what would be your right side. And this one will come up through your left side. Then you want those to be about even. Then what I'm going to do is make these like little circles. You're just twisting it, like make these little circles, just enough to make the wire not come back through. You just loop it around in a bunch of circles. And then I'll do the same thing over here, so that I can't pull the wire back through. It's a stopper now. So that's our hanger. And then I'll bring the bow down. I'm sorry, I told you the wrong way. Let's take this side back out again. I thought I was saving a step. I told you the wrong way. So this side can't go in first. I want to see about where I want it. So what I did on this side, I think, what did I do on this side? I had them come in from the back. I know what I did. I should have had the wire. I wonder if I can adjust it. Let me see what I can do here. I don't think it really matters. I'm just going to go through the front on this side. I told you one step backwards, but it's not going to matter. It's going to come in from the back on one side if you follow my directions. It's going to go back the other way on the other side. But I'm just going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to twist it. But if you don't want that on the back, then you can just kind of wrap it around and hide it behind the ribbon. You could even, you could have this, if you don't want it to scrape the wall behind you, then I would bring it back forward. I would take it through the back and then tie it around and just loop it around here a couple times and then hide it behind the ribbon so that the end is actually behind the ribbon, not on the back wall side. That way you don't have that, that end of the wire scraping whatever you're hanging it on, your window of your door or your wall, whatever it is. Now with the ribbon, what I do with this, once it's all pinched like this and I have it where I want, is I kind of make it into an X. I tug it and try to make it into 4 separate little parts. This is, we're calling this a messy bow. I wish I could read this. I wish I could read your stuff. Hi, Pat. All right, so I like to make my ends of the ribbons into V shapes. You could cut them off however you want. If you like straight, you could leave them straight. I like to fold it in half and cut from the wired edge. Good. Into the folded edge. So in towards the center where I fold it, and that way you have a V when you're done. So I will do that on all of these. I really need to find my glasses so that I can see what I'm seeing. Further away, I can see your comments. I don't know where the last time I wore them was. So folded edge out to the wired edge, because that can be tricky. Sometimes it's easy to do it the wrong way. And then you have, instead of having a V, you have a point on the end of your ribbon. And then if you have to fix it, then you lose some of the length of that ribbon. Now I even do it on these little ones, these skinny ones. They're just harder to fold in half. And I make it so that that inside one, or the front one, is a little bit shorter than the back one. Not perfect, but close as far as length goes. So you want to make sure that that zip tie is pulled pretty tight, because even if it isn't, this ribbon right here, you can kind of slide back and forth. I mean, it's tight enough right now, but if you had it loose, it could potentially pull right out. I mean, I could pull it right out right now, but it's tight enough that it won't fall out on its own. So then these are kind of meant to just be little wispies. So you can adjust that as you want, but because they're wired, you can form them too. You can sort of form them into arches a little bit. But now you have a hanger and a ribbon. And if you really wanted to, if it bothers you that it moves around, you could even add a little bit of hot glue behind there, or sort of on the tips, just to force it to stay, for the ribbon to stay. So I'm probably now going to go back and just make sure I have enough glue on all of these whenever I'm done. But I did want to show you how I do this. This is totally optional. Of course, any of this is optional. It's your project. But you don't need a whole lot of this crinkle stuff. You can just go in and just add a little bit at a time, and very carefully. This is very easy to burn yourself. Press this down in there along that edge. And you might have too much, but that's okay. So you can pull some of it away. But I like having some of it dangle down a little bit. It kind of looks like it's hanging out of the truck. You just want to, sometimes it's easier to use the glue gun to press it in so you don't use your fingers and get burnt. Just a little bit is all it takes for this stuff. And sometimes you can crinkle it back up yourself. And that's about it. Then you can go hang it. So I don't think it matters if you do your wire from the front or the back, as long as you put that wire through the zip tie before you pull it too tight. It'll be a lot easier to thread through. Now, we had that wreath project, the online wreath workshop, which you still could order supplies for if you missed that. We have the Valentine's wreath project out there in the shop. And we send you a kit for how you can make the wreath, and then we send you a link to the YouTube video for the directions. And we had one person complete hers already today. We just sent the video this morning, and she completed hers today, and she posted it on that post about the wreath workshop. So we're going to try to do more of those. We're going to try to do more online workshops so that those of you who aren't local can do those as well. But then we always have these kits, which is kind of like its own little online workshop. And we're just trying to make it convenient for as many of you as we can, because I know there's a lot of you that are like, I just wish I lived closer. So some things we can do that with, some things we can't, but we're trying. Okay, so that would be what your make it for me option would look like if you would like to make one yourself with whatever colors you would like. Maybe you want an aqua truck, maybe you want a teal truck. You can do whatever you want with whatever paint colors you want. The DIY kit will just have the bare basics of what you will need. So that's it. So I'll post a good picture in the daytime so that you can actually see better what it looks like. But there I have two. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the what's this called? Fender, right? A fender. The only thing I did with that was I added a little bit of the white and, my paintbrush go? White and silver. I think I painted it all white, and then I wanted to add it and make it look more silver. But I was real rough with the amount of paint that I used. So I was kind of dry brushing in some areas and fully painting it. I don't want to mess up the Sharpie marks that I made before, so I'm kind of staying away from the edge and keeping it a little bit more dry brushed. But then you could always, if you want, grab a little bit of the gray and blend it in, or the dark color, and blend it so it looks a little more silver. Or you could just use silver in the first place. Depends on how streaky you want it. I kind of like the streaked look a little bit. And then I let that dry, and then I took a Sharpie again, and I just created like a parentheses almost to make the license plate. I tried to center it as much as I could. What you might want to do is look to see where you want the center, decide what you want your license plate to say. Mine says Love 14, which I need to do on this one too, because I'm saying that if I'm going to give you a make it for me option, they're all going to look the same. So I would, when this is dry, I'll go in and I'll write Love 14, and then after that I'll probably put the parentheses on, because the first one I did, I put the parentheses and then I had to make sure I was just right getting the Love 14 in. So I learned from that and thought, let's write the word and the number and then put the little parentheses on. And then after that, I think I felt like it didn't stick out as a license plate, so I added in some more dark on the fender so that it let the license plate be a little bit lighter than the rest of it. But that's totally up to you. And you could put XOXO if you wanted. You could put whatever. You could put your last name on the license plate. You could do whatever you wanted if you were doing a DIY kit. So there you have two similar ones, but just slightly different. And again, this one, you could put some glue if you didn't like it bopping around all that like that. That's no issue. That's no problem. So thank you. We'll get the video listed. We'll put the listing up. We'll get the picture for you, and we'll get it all good to go if you're interested in making one for yourself. All right, I got to get up and go around and turn off both of my devices because they're too far away. So have a great Friday night. I hope I didn't miss your comments, like anything that you were curious to know about, because I can't see. But if you do and I missed it, I'll come back once I can get it where I can see, and I'll answer you then. So have a great weekend, and stay safe for those of you local that, you know, depending on what it does tomorrow. So hopefully everybody stays safe. Have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody. Good night.